People aren't the only things that die. You go in that place, and you know it's dead. A building can get abandoned. Maybe it's run its use. Maybe people move on. That's not what happened. Those monks, nuns, the abbot, gone. No one knows how. People are so tired they hardly care, but you can feel it. Something. A place that's supposed to be occupied. That abbey wasn't abandoned. Don't go to places that are dead.
Hello everyone and welcome to Vanquished. In this building series, I am creating an adventure map inspired by dark fantasy. In today's episode, I'm going to show you the layout I've been working on here. I was calling just the living quarters of the abbey the monastery, but it actually turns out that an abbey is also called a monastery. It's like monasteries are all-encompassing terms for both priories and abbeys alike, so they just have like minute differences that are, you know, Catholic technicalities or whatever. I've been looking this stuff up because I'm trying to do research, right? It turns out, they have very I don't fully understand the difference between a abbey, monastery, or a priory. They all sound the same. All that I know is that an abbey is run by a person called an abbot, where a priory is run by someone called a prior. Yeah, but I guess that doesn't really matter. This is a bit of an unorthodox design for a monastery here, but I don't think that's a big issue. I do have the, benefit of this being a fantasy world that is not directly connected to Christianity in any way. I'm trying to invoke the imagery, but not like the actual symbolism of Christianity. But yeah, let me show you around here. So this is going to be the library of the monastery here, this big building here. Over here will be either like a dining room or a kitchen or something. This is a big walkway, and you can see that it connects to the chapel over here, the church. And inside of here, this is a very typical design for a monastery that would have a garden in the center of here. Normally, these gardens and walls are normally tucked up right next to the church, but in this design, I wanted to spread it out a little bit more. The goal for this is to make it so that when you walk into here, you are... Oh my gosh. I gotta, like, mute Discord or something. So anyways, as I was saying, we're all thinking about how you're gonna be here in the perspective of the player. So you're going to go through here. These are going to be walls. You're not going to be able to enter through anywhere else except for this front area, which goes into the initial courtyard. This would be where the citizens and the monks could converse over here, and this is probably the only place that they would. And while coming into this area, you can see that I want this to be clearly visible. These are not going to be the tallest buildings here, so we will be able to see the cathedral. But yes, we want to beckon the player towards the church without directly forcing the player to do so. This is like an open world map. It's going to be fairly up to the player of what the person does. But we obviously want to incentivize people to do something. So obviously we got the command blocks that are going to start ringing the bells. You're going to see the church. You're going to assume that's where the bells are coming from. You're probably going to go there first. If not, it's not a big deal. You just might be hearing the bells for a little long time, and you'll be like, what the hell? So potentially you could start hearing the bells ring and come over here. So I might create another command block that also turns off the bells, so that either way of going in this way, you turn off the bells, or going in this way, you turn off the bells. But I'm going to start working on this thing here. I need to start concepting some designs. I really haven't thought of this too much. I have a bit of a reference page that I've been working on. I've been looking on Google Images and looking around for Abbey layouts and what have you. I found this really cool website that is created on Unity. It's like a digital tour through a fantasy abbey. It's really cool. I'm gonna leave the link into the description so you can check it out. But basically, it's like old video game aesthetic, but it's all done in your browser, and you can just tour around a realistic medieval abbey. It was really like a really useful tool for me to figure out what I wanted to do with the layout here. So I'm going to show some videos on the screen, but I definitely recommend you just check it out because it's just a very cool thing. It's got the aesthetic down point. It feels very early, you know, video game. I don't know what era that would be, but to me, it's like early 2000s. But anyways, I'm going to come back and I'll show you what I have for a plan. And then later, I'm going to have this whole thing figured out here. Okay, so I came up with a little bit of a base and a understanding of what I'm going to be doing. So here's the courtyard. You can see that I went with some tough bricks for these roofs here. I went through a couple different versions of the roofs, but I'm settling on these tough bricks. I knew I wanted to go lighter than the cathedral, but a lot of the other bricks are just either too light or don't look right. So even though that this is a gray green, which is pretty, you know, not very common for abbeys or monasteries, when I went with nether brick, it was just like far too dark, and when I went with regular brick, it was just far too light. So this is a good in-between, and you know what? I think it looks okay. I will say it doesn't contrast with the ground too much. It's definitely contrasting less than the cathedral does, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it will be all right. If not, I can change it later down the line, so it's not that big of a deal. But I'm gonna get back to building. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so you can see I have a little bit more done here. Let me turn off my shaders. It looks a lot worse without them. Oh my gosh, I always forget that. All right, so you can see what I've been doing. I have the entire garden area here and all of these cloisters, which is what these hallways are called. I've made this tower design, and I made this tower design too. I made it out of that one, but I didn't end up using it because I couldn't find a good place for it. So I think I'm gonna leave it here. It might be part of the library, we will see. But coming over here, we have more of a little enclosed garden, I'm guessing. I think I might put some gravestones around here, and the rest of this will be like the living quarters, I suppose. Or maybe I'll put an extension behind here and there'll be living quarters right here, because that could also work. It really depends on like how much work I want to put into this right now. Yeah, I think the sightline looks really good here. Coming down over here, you get a little bit more of the view, and I think it just looks really cool. Taking my resource pack off, you can see what it looks like in classic style here. I want to check if I have I got 23 chunks right now. What does 2 chunks look like? Oh my god. 2 chunks is insane. All right. I don't know. I want to recreate. Yeah, that ain't good. We don't like that. Playing around with video settings here. I've been watching this YouTuber recently, and he's been inspiring me. He's kind of an odd chap. His name is Mongster, or Mojang Blonsky is his other channel that I've been watching. And basically, he only plays on alpha versions. I don't fully understand the appeal of alpha that much. I certainly probably would never play it myself. I think it's a little too limiting for my liking, but he seems to really enjoy it. One thing about alpha is that it is like just prime creepypasta, liminal space, backrooms ass aesthetic, you know, that kind of thing. Like that's kind of what I've been going for here with my shader pack and my texture pack and what have you. I want it to feel like an old video game, like some creepy video game or something like that. I definitely want like a little bit of a horror aesthetic. But recently, Mojang Blonsky, he did a tour of a pretty interesting map that was made recently, but it was made in 1.7.3, beta 1.7.3, and it's about dreams, basically. The whole thing is like nonsensical, and it's extraordinarily liminal. Very, very much probably backrooms inspired, like most, you know, horror games or horror Minecraft mods are. I was really inspired by it because I thought it was just like such an intriguing adventure map, and it got me into thinking of like building dreams almost, and this is what I want this whole entire adventure map to be, is like fairly dreamlike, and I'm hoping that I can like have an idea of how to recreate that. So obviously I want to keep that uncanny feeling, like why are there no people here? And that mystery is going to stay for a very long time and maybe possibly not even be explained fully, maybe just hinted at. But I also had this idea that perhaps at the end of the game, it becomes very surrealist. I'm a big fan of surrealism. I like surrealist media. I like surrealist horror, especially because it just works very well. And I had this idea that maybe, perhaps at the end of the game, we do something like almost like maybe there was a cult here. I don't know. Everything's like not very thought out. But perhaps the reason why they're all gone is because some evil thing that they tried to do, ritual or, creation or, some kind of religious heresy of some kind, made them all disappear. And then at the end of the adventure map, after you collect, I don't know, maybe 3 MacGuffins or something, you come back to the cathedral and you place the 3 MacGuffins here, and then you get transported to like a dream realm. And I was thinking maybe it could even be like possibly like slightly hinting on Dante's Inferno, but more surrealist. But like as Dante would, you would go down 8 levels of hell or whatever. And I thought that would be really cool. And then perhaps at the end of the game, you die. And then it's like credits roll. I don't know what I'm going to do there, but like if I'm using command blocks, I can teleport you basically anywhere in the map. I could teleport you to this like weird surrealist world. And then you just explore each like different realm as vague references to Dante. I think that could be really cool. And like each one would have its own thing, and there would be like repeated imagery of what you've done previously. It would also be very inspired by that Demon Slayer movie, which I have my critiques of that movie or whatever. But one thing that I thought was really interesting is like the Infinity Falling Castle realm. That was like really, I think that could also be very liminal if the movie wasn't so crazy. If you had to travel through that thing, also Castlevania, this is all the different medias I'm just listing off that I got really inspired by. Castlevania did something even very similar and did it before in a way that I like more for the thematic reasoning for this adventure map. But basically, it's like, I think it's season 3 of Castlevania, this guy goes into this infinity library through like a surrealist realm area or whatever. God, I get so excited thinking about it, but that would be so much fucking work. Tell me what you think of that idea. I think that would be really cool. And it doesn't matter what you tell me about it. I think I'm gonna do it. Yeah, this monster guy, he plays in only alpha. And I kind of see that alpha is like by default, it's that creepy liminal feeling. Where in these more modern versions, I'm trying to get that feeling, but you have to obviously put texture packs and shader packs and what have you. And honestly, and I'm gonna be honest, the only part about alpha that appeals to me is that liminal nostalgic feeling. Like I played that game when I was 9, like, and I think that was the last time I ever played alpha was when I was 9 years old. And oddly enough, this monster guy, he's a little younger than me. He didn't even play it. He's just like so, I don't know. He's a little oddball. I'm not gonna lie. He likes it. He swears by alpha being the best version to play on. Which, I respect, but I do not understand whatsoever. A little too crazy. I'm not quite there yet. I'm also not as much as zen as he is. He's a very zen guy, which I really enjoy because I watch him to go to sleep, right? But every now and then I do think about either going back to that beta version that everyone plays on, or that alpha version. Alpha certainly it would be fun to go back to, simply just for nostalgic reasons. And that I know so much about it now because of that guy's videos. Okay, what do I want to do? I want to make like big pillars. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of these new Minecraft players who are going back to these older versions. And I certainly, like, I get it to some degree and some to a lesser degree. I think that a lot of people do it because they aren't good at building. That's like an overt insult, and I recognize that. I'm not trying to be like a complete asshole or whatever, but I do think that there is a correlation to like people who are a little bit more intimidated by the modern building styles of new players and the easier, more functional old building styles. But I also fully acknowledge the idea of limitations breed creativity, like 100%. For that reason, I honestly want to go back and play the old versions, just for like almost a challenge. But I don't know that I would ever actually make it my main playthrough or my main way of playing this game. Like, it would be the same vein as, you know, an artist going back and using Crayola markers for a challenge to see if they can make a good piece of art. Honestly, I don't really want to do that. There's only so many times you can use the same 12-pack of Crayola markers until you get bored, and you should probably expand your artistic, you know, arms or what have you. But some of the things that people do create are, you know, fairly impressive. But one thing that I will also say, like, I wouldn't say they look better in this beta version, but they got that liminal advantage. They got that nostalgic advantage as well. A lot of people have been saying that the new textures, they don't like them. Or at least these old Minecraft YouTubers that I've been watching recently. I don't really understand that. I think the new textures are better. There's almost a reason why I can understand it, and it's that if you want to mimic that old indie game kind of look, which I think that a lot of people do really like, which is fair enough, you know. For me, it's like, it's just nostalgia. I think that's the only reason I actually like those old textures, and I've gotten used to the new textures, like, yeah, I don't know. They've been in the game for so long right now that they are just basically the default textures to me. But going back and looking at those old, like, harsh, crunchy textures where it looks like very, very novice. Each texture was made in like 30 seconds or so, and there's a lot of reused assets. I kind of like it. I saw a video about a guy describing how many reused assets are in like the old textures, where they would just take the texture of the wood and make it into a door or what have you, which happens here too, but not to so many different degrees. Like, I'm pretty sure, what was it, the old end stone texture is a recoloration of cobblestone, and it's the exact same thing. It's just a recoloration. But I don't know, it could be interesting to go back on those different versions. I gotta remember that I don't actually need to place every block. I have Axiom. One thing I think I can agree with these beta players and these alpha players is that I do kind of have a modern build fatigue, and I think it comes from the amount of blocks that people use. Like, there's been this conversation about block vomit for a while now, but I think it's even less so about block vomit. There's block vomit, and then there's texturing, and I don't even think I really like texturing all that much. You can kind of see, like, what I do is none of this really has multiple colors meaning the same material. Well, I guess this does. This is the only thing that does. So maybe I'm a hypocrite. I don't know. When it comes to my buildings, you don't normally see, I don't really do gradients. I don't really do these multiple different colors. And I've always kind of hated it when people do that, because I think that gradients aren't all that important, and they don't look all that great, especially in Minecraft. I think that the game can kind of speak for itself, but I don't really think that's a symptom of modern Minecraft. I think that the majority of people wouldn't naturally do gradients, but I don't know. In these old styles of Minecraft, you literally it's impossible to do any gradient. There's no variety. So it does, like, force you to build in solid structures, I would say. Solid individual palettes, which is what I prefer. So, like, there is a reason why I watch all these beta guys, right? It's like, because I do like the way their buildings look. And then there's block vomit, obviously, which is just like when people see gradients and they want to mimic the more experienced players, and then they don't really understand how to do that. Like, you can say what you want about beta players, but they literally can't do block vomit. I wonder if there's a mod that makes it so that you can get the alpha fog in normal Minecraft. That way we can have the liminal, freaking liminal, dude. It's so liminal. All right, so this is the entirety of the Abbey completed. I'm pretty proud of it, honestly. You can see that I had to move the library back a little bit, which means that it invaded in on this building here, which means that most likely just going to be a little bit of a walkway. But the entirety of the exterior is done. The majority of the interior is done. I just simply haven't done the library here, but you can see how big this place is. It's going to be really cool, I think. We're going to have big, like, walkways above here, big sprawling towering bookshelves, a big chandelier in the middle of it, and then possibly a puzzle that you would have to accomplish while playing the adventure map. But other than that, you can see that all of these hallways are fully arched. We have the garden, pretty simple. It's just some grass and one singular tree in the center. I thought that was kind of eerie. I kind of like that. Everything is done except for the library and the sleeping area where the monks would stay. But the church is actually done, and I've been putting on little tiny finishing touches everywhere. Instead of showing you the inside of the church, I think I have a little bit of a plan for the end of this video here. But you can see I have "the angel looks down at you," just some flavor text. I was thinking, I don't know if I want to do command blocks for the dialogue. In fact, I don't really want to do that much dialogue at all. I kind of only want to do flavor text and like some really, really like sparse lines of dialogue. Because I do want this to largely be focused on atmosphere rather than me telling you what to think, I guess. But yeah, I got this little piece and I'm going to do birch signs. I'm currently using the Alacrity resource pack at the moment. This is a 32 by 32, so it's very detailed, but I think it looks very good. But that is it for this episode of Vanquish. I hope you enjoyed it. Next episode, I will be working on the library, and then also maybe something in the town. Not too sure. But I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.